Alrighty, guys, we are back. It's your boy Q, and up next we have our Kendrick Lamar made Drake give up on a classic album. Shout out to Hip Hop Madness for the video. But I wonder what will be revealed in this video. Crazy. But Kendrick and Drake do have a very long musical relationship. I want to say since like 2010, 2011, when K Dot was actually picked to go on tour and open up for Drake, which is definitely a big moment because it allowed him to show and prove to a much bigger audience. But enough dilly-dallying, we're going to jump right into the video. Again, it's entitled How Kendrick Lamar Made Drake Give Up on a Classic Album.
With hip-hop being by far the most lyrically driven music genre in human history, it stands to reason that the classic album competition has had a constant correlation with rappers pushing to be recognized as the best to ever do it. A Tribe Called Quest entered the...
Yeah, man, I feel like competition does breed innovation. It breeds like a higher standard, a higher quality, because everyone wants to like be the top at whatever they're doing. So I do feel like a nice, healthy competition is good. The competitiveness isn't always a bad thing.
The scene with their first 3 albums being considered classics. Both of Biggie's albums have that classic stamp as well. And of course, Kanye West can claim the same for his debut, The College Dropout, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. But when it comes to Drake, the same...
Would you guys put like Life of Pablo or Late Registration on that list of like of classics? I hear some people mention them, some people don't. Like, some of those records are so monumental. But yeah, let me know in the comments, guys. And definitely hit the subscribe button, guys. It does the channel wonders.
Can't be said, and it might have something to do with Kendrick. Drake is a lot of things to a lot of people. To some fans, he's their undisputed GOAT, who has well and truly earned Spotify's most streamed artist of the decade. For others, he's either just an MC who's got a few catchy tracks, or someone simply following every trend to keep himself at the top of the mountain. But for Kendrick Lamar, it's a different story, because to him, Drake embodies everything Kendrick despises in modern hip-hop. And long before they were caught up in the great hip-hop war of 2024, they were already going at each other's throats in subtle forms, and it all really stemmed from Kendrick. K-Dot and Drake's relationship formally began in 2011 when he was on tour alongside him, forming part of an all-star bill which also featured A$AP Rocky.
So like I said earlier in the intro, there was definitely a great look. You're now doing arenas instead of like the theaters, which are still, it's a big move. Doing a theater ain't a small task. It's major. Yeah, you're booking like 2,000 seaters when you're doing theaters at the minimum. So it's definitely like quite an accomplishment.
They headed out on tour, and initially, it all seemed like they were content to play Happy Families. And when asked about Drizzy in interviews, Dot had nothing but praise for him.
I sat down with Drake in Toronto a while back when I did my first show.
2011.
He called me up, man. We had a few drinks. He was appreciative of my music. I've always been a fan of his music. Hit me up one day and said, you know what? Handpicked, man. I want you to be on this tour.
That's fire.
Shout out to Drizzy.
Whether or not this was ever truly the case,
I think at the time it probably was. You know, you don't really know these people until you know them. So like, yeah, I feel like once they start building a relationship together and stuff like that, and honestly, as soon as like your stock does build, like, dude, you want the top spot as well. At that point, it's like you have every right to like shoot your shot. And it's honestly something that has been brewing for like years now. It shouldn't honestly be a surprise to anyone that this beef happened. But you could see it on Kendrick since the Control verse on the Big Sean record. Yeah, the dude's definitely wanted the top spot for a minute. But he probably was very appreciative of the opportunity he had.
His apparent admiration for Drake's music obviously wasn't his only reason for hopping on board, as clearly that exposure was priceless. And even in early discussions about touring with Drake, he seemed to stress that it was a golden opportunity.
I can't back down from that to expand my music to a crowd that haven't heard it before. I know it's 15,000 people out there. I'm used to 2,000. It was fun, man. We had a great bond on there.
From there, they would collaborate several times, with their last link up on a track coming in the shape of Poetic Justice from Kendrick Lamar's landmark album, Good Kid, Mad City. Notably, this was the most radio-friendly song on the record, with Drake being drafted in just as he was entering the peak of his commercial powers, in essence making K-Dot an early guinea pig for the so-called Drake stimulus package that many other artists would later benefit from. But soon, the tone of their
Yeah, when it comes to the Drake stimulus package, if he's giving you that feature, it's already because you're going to be that person regardless with or without him. That My Way record from Fetty Wap was going to be a hit with or without Drake. Migos was going to be the Migos with or without Drake. So, like, it is dope that he gave him the feature and stuff like that, but he's not just giving anybody a feature. And a lot of these acts, once they're not bubbling, some of these artists, like a Black Boy, for example, he asked for another feature and Drake just left him on red. I think these people don't realize that these people aren't really your friends. They're still just trying to capitalize on like the buzz and success you have on a record. It's the same thing that happened with Designer. You know, he goes over and he signs with Good Music, and he basically signs the rights over to Panda to Kanye, and Kanye puts it on his album, and bam, I don't think he was ever really able to like recreate that success. And I know he didn't see the money he probably should have from that record, because that record was huge. But that's the game. That's the game. It's definitely, if you're not useful, you're useless. So to think that these people don't have the same mentality, you'd be nuts.
Interaction was about to change, and it all began when Kendrick appeared on The Breakfast Club and seemed to co-sign one of the infamous rants about Drake that had emerged thus far.
What about Drake? You like Drake?
No. Why don't you like Drake? I don't like anything about Drake.
Yeah, this is where I'm pretty sure like Kendrick got inspired or referred to when like he was saying he don't like the way Drake like walks or dresses or anything like that. Because DMX had a similar take where he was like, I don't like his face, I don't like his voice, like all that stuff. So that's pretty hilarious moment. If you guys haven't seen that interview, it's definitely a classic like Breakfast Club moment.
What about Drake? You like Drake?
No. Why don't you like Drake? I don't like anything about Drake. I don't like his voice. I don't like his face. I don't like the way he walks, like nothing. I don't like his haircut. I might just let me shut up.
Well,
you could tell X meant that. Like, it's funny how now there's two X's, so sometimes when I say it, I don't think people know who I'm referring to. Usually it's like XXXTentacion. But DMX, man, if you guys were too young to have witnessed his grace, just definitely do like some YouTube searches. Some classic records and also some classic moments, definitely.
While promoting his debut album, Kendrick made his own appearance on The Breakfast Club and referenced how much he thought that infamous clip was hilarious while he was on tour. And in a now deleted section from the interview, he didn't exactly hold back. I'm wondering why these in the front of the bus just cracking up, hitting walls and he said, swinging his arms. I'm like, dog, what the you talking about? They mute, they stop laughing, right? I just hear X going off on the laptop, just spazzing. Although there was no
they try to cancel Beyonce over that word.
Public response from either person, what it did was mark a point where they never make music again. So tracks like The Problems, which
of course, you can tell that like Drake is petty. Look at a lot of his moves. Like, if the dude feels like you slighted him, he's gonna get emotional about it, which is he's in his right to react how whoever he wants to react, you know what I mean, to his issues. But it's definitely like built some animosity in the industry. But it does seem like Kendrick has wanted that top spot since the beginning. He definitely does seem like he was like appreciative of like the opportunity and stuff like that. Like I said, once you start going on tour with these people, they start knowing these people, and I don't know. I think the biggest part of like the whole like beef, I guess, between them is the fact that like Kendrick is a super competitive guy when it comes to hip hop. But Drake isn't the only person that's been on his like hit list, you know? He shot shots on a lot of people. I made a reference in another video where I basically called him like the Dark Knight Batman, you know, because like Batman is, if you read the comics, he basically has a plan. If any superhero gets out of line, like if Superman were to bug out, he knows he basically has a plan in his stash to like take him out. And I feel like that's what Kendrick has in like hip hop. Like the dude probably has a diss towards any of the top rappers in case like they want to come out with some foolishness, and like he's gonna hit him with a response in like 40 minutes, fam.
Drake and 40 personally produced and gifted to Kendrick, who recorded a verse for it, passed it back to Drake, who eventually gave it to A$AP Rocky, allowing him to keep all the previously recorded verses, including K-Dot. And from this point on, the pair would enter into an era of subliminals and online jabs. Now, it's worth noting that Problems and Good Kid, Mad City both dropped within the same month in 2012. So, in an alternative universe, it isn't crazy to think that the track might have ended up on Good Kid, Mad City. Nonetheless, with publications like the Washington Post going on to label Good Kid, Mad City an instant masterpiece, Drake suddenly felt the drive to achieve something that eluded him in his career, creating a classic album.
Yeah, fam. People judge your career by your classics. To be considered one of the greats, you definitely have to have your classic. So a lot of people say it's Take Care for Drake, or Maybe Nothing Was the Same. And there's people that will say, like, if you're reading this, it's too late. To me, that was definitely a moment in time. Shout out to Quentin Miller. But yeah, like, you definitely are judged by your classics. I mean, your discography is all really anyone has after your career is done.
As a mixed-race kid from Canada who grew up in the suburbs, Drake had always been fighting for acceptance in hip-hop, and one surefire way to do it would be to produce an undeniable body of work. Thus, he began to work on Nothing Was the Same, the album that was meant to prove that he was every bit as capable of creating a classic record as Kendrick was. The music I'm making is more concise, more clear. I've been able to get my thoughts across a lot better on this album, he said of the project prior to its release. Take Care is a great album, but I listened to it and I realized where I could have done better, and I think I've done better on this album. But as he was preparing to unleash what he thought was the most comprehensive document of his skills, Kendrick was about to seize the agenda in hip-hop all over again with his infamous Control verse, where he called out everyone from Cole and Big Sean to Drake and Tyler. This
was a nuke when it came out. Most definitely.
While Drake was prepping the world to pay heed to his skills and position himself as the undisputed king, Kendrick came and snatched the crown and the news cycle in one fell swoop. And to say that Drake was salty afterwards,
the verse heard around the world.
It just wasn't real to me. I saw him after that, and it was just like,
you see, you could tell it really touched a nerve. It really affected him emotionally. It's like I said, he can take these situations however he feels like. But when this stuff is put out, people are gonna look at you a certain way. People are gonna call you like emotional or sensitive and stuff like that. And when you're the top guy, you already have to know that honestly people are going to throw shots. Natural, it's what comes with the game. Honestly, probably in any industry. It's like that quote, like, heavy is the head who wears the crown. It's like, dude, there's a lot of pressure on the number one. That's why it's like a lot of people would rather be like the number 5, number 4 and have an awesome career and never really face any type of real backlash and dude, life is a lot more peaceful.
love. So it's like, was that real or was that just like for the people? Those were harsh words. You can't just say that and then see me and be like, yeah, man, what's up? Pretending like nothing ever happened. Like, to me, that's not like the nature of battling. I mean, there's passion behind it. There's anger behind it. I personally enjoy making like great music and bodies of work over like being the talk of Twitter for like 5 days.
A subject that was brought up throughout the press cycle for Nothing Was the Same, Drake was embittered, and soon the subs would be flying. As the album that he'd hyped up so much emerged, fans noted that the language from Nothing Was the Same seemed to be taking aim at not only the adulation that Kendrick receives, but would suggest that Control was a cheap ploy for attention. I don't know why they've been lying, but your is not that inspiring, he rapped. Later in that same verse, he spews, any rapper that's talking that just to get a reaction. And later, I'm the kid with the motor mouth. I'm the one you should worry about. But Kendrick was anything but concerned. If anything, this was the reaction that he wanted to get, because soon he'd respond on his own accord with his feature on J-Rock's Pay For It. Spit in, this ain't no warning shot. This is a relevant henchman. See my opponent, then cease your existence.
She is two different roads of saying similar things. One sounded so nice and so polite, and when Kendrick says it, I think it's like, yo, cease your existence. Like, henchman, this is no warning shot. This is a kill shot, you know? Like, they're coming at it from two definitely different perspectives. And like, in war and strategy, that's definitely something that's gonna like hinder you if you're coming at it as a nice guy, like, and the other guy is just trying to take your head off.
Then there was Kendrick's decision to take aim at Drake during the 2013 BET Cypher.
Yeah, and nothing been the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sensitive rapper back in his pajamas.
Much like Drake, Kendrick's press run soon became dominated by questions about their supposed animosity. And after Drizzy had his say-so, K-Dot was finally ready to lay his own feelings bare too. In comments that starkly contrasted with what he had said just years prior, Kendrick finally acknowledged that they are not the same kind of creature during an interview with Who Kid. First, he discussed what he felt was wrong with hip-hop, suggesting that there weren't enough rappers pushing themselves into the mainstream.
It's just really about challenging yourself, man, and not being able to take things for granted. Whether it's a hook, whether it's a verse, whether it's 4 bars, 8 bars, a chorus, you gotta give it your shot. This is a 1 in a million thing to be in the industry.
Wow, big
and to be doing it on this level.
But from there, he got much more specific, talking explicitly about why he wants nothing to do with Drizzy anymore.
Would Drake be somebody you would like to have some fun with?
Nah, we come from 2 different worlds, 2 different backgrounds. I really don't see that playing out as entertaining, maybe to the people listening, not for myself.
Well, yeah, obviously if they were to get up on a like stage together, it would shut the internet down. But they do come from 2 totally different environments. They don't seem to be walking the same path. Can it really be surprising that he doesn't see himself hanging out with him? They live totally different lives, fam. And it's okay. It's okay to be like that. And it's okay to have those differences, you know, to each their own. Everyone has the right to live their lives how they choose. As long as they're not hurting anyone, then what can you really say? But yeah, I don't see that as nothing too crazy to say.
The state of hip-hop is wild. It's in a place where creativity is at a stagnant point. And there's a lot of records that I do enjoy, but at the same time, it get to a space where it look like we just stuck now. They ain't giving us our respect because they feel that, you know, we ain't out here representing the foundation of saying what you want to say rather than just listening to what the next man's saying or what's hot on the radio. Hip-hop.
Well, during this time, a lot of it was gearing towards more of like, all right, understanding and following the algorithm. This was a certain time, it was kind of like shaky for music. This is before really streaming really took hold, you know? and a lot of these other avenues and 360 deals started popping up. And it's not to say that things like an algorithm wasn't used. Like these labels did use like analytics before during CDs and stuff. You could see what markets were gravitating towards your music more, what radio stations were spinning your records the most, and those would be the cities and countries you would target. But now with these algorithms, like everything is dialed in, from like what shoes you're wearing to what hat. Like, dude, Eminem picks his sneakers because an algorithm told him to do that. And it's like, so it's like, it's not like only him. It's just how like the business of hip hop. And it is really cool that you have somebody like Kendrick that will just like, honestly, like say F all that and make his albums how he chooses. So, which is why I feel like he does have so much success, because it's like, dude, you're pulling off these concept albums. Like from beginning to end, there's a story. And when you invest yourself into a story, honestly, I feel like that does make the project even better than having just like a playlist of records that, dude, there's bops and there's fire, but like as a project, it probably doesn't hit the same. Like you probably have a few records that you bump off that album versus like, no, this whole Kendrick album or so whatever, whoever is making the album, this whole concept album from beginning to end is one piece of art, and it's made to be digested entirely.
I was built on originality.
Here, Kendrick effectively distanced himself from Drake, just like he's done persistently during their current beef, suggesting that he, a mixed-race kid from Toronto, wasn't truly a part of hip-hop like he was and never would be. In essence, creating a differentiation in terms of how they should be viewed and the level of respect they should.
Yeah, this is why when everyone says it's like it's not because he's biracial or got white or black on him or whatever. It's the fact that Kendrick doesn't believe that he's part of the culture and that he co-opted it.
Command. And soon, this would spread far beyond Kendrick and lead to Drake giving up on a classic album entirely. It all started with the 2014 Grammys. That night, both Good Kid, Mad City and what Drake believed was his
Little did we all know what would go down that night.
magnum opus in Nothing Was the Same were set to square off for the award of Best Rap Album. But things were going to go left when neither of these records picked up the win, and the commercially dominant Macklemore and Ryan Lewis project.
He swept that Grammys, only to like disappear a few years later. He still drops music, and it's just nowhere near to the level of these records, like the Thrift Shop and record and stuff like that. But like, yeah, man, what made it worse is that he like apologized to Kendrick, which could have been cool by itself, but then he went and like uploaded like the text messages and stuff like that to show people that even he understood that he shouldn't have won, which I do think was a detriment to his career.
The Heist took the award home. In the aftermath, the public were outraged, but not on Drake's behalf. Instead, they were horrified that K-Dot and K-Dot alone had been overlooked. Apparently, none more so than Macklemore, who hopped on Hot 97 to apologize for something that was ultimately beyond his control.
First and foremost, Kendrick is a friend of mine. I love his music, and in my opinion, had the best rap album of the year. That's what happened. It kind of sucks. I think we made a great album. I think that Kendrick...
He should have just took it in stride. It is what it is. Like, people just got to realize that. Like, the people voting don't always have expertise in the genres that they are voting on.
Made a better rap album. Knowing how the Grammys usually go, I knew that there would be a great chance that we would win that award and, in essence, rob Kendrick.
But once again, Drake was about to get in his feelings and show how much he despised being overlooked and favored Kendrick. That was whack as he told Rolling Stone. I was like, you won. Why are you posting your text message? Just chill. Take your W. And if you feel you didn't deserve it, go get better. Make better music. You think they'll...
I wonder if he would have said, like, Drake should have won, if, like, the sentiment would have been different. I bet you would have been like, thank you, bud. I appreciate you. Much love.
Scots would pay homage to you if they won. This is how the world works. He made a brand of music that appealed to more people than me, Hove, Kanye, and Kendrick. Whether people want to say it's racial,
the petty
or whether
niggas
it's
is the
just
most
the fact
dangerous
that he tapped
ones.
into something we can't tap into. That's just how the cards fall.
Yeah, they crash out, ready to
name
crash
just
out.
Kendrick, that made me feel funny. No, in that case, you robbed everyone. We all need text messages. Once again, Drake's transparent desire to be viewed in the same breath as K-Dot in terms of being a
You should have texted him too, Macklemore.
vitally important artist to the culture has been exposed. Because try as he might, he simply couldn't produce something that spoke so resoundingly to the culture as K-Dot had. Because after attempting to craft a genre-defining masterpiece and not getting the plaudits he felt he deserved, Drizzy decided that he couldn't accomplish that feat on his terms. Since Nothing Was the Same and onwards, Drake's status as hip-hop's ultimate chart topper has become an integral part of his branding. From the days where he suggested that he should probably sign to hip.
The numbers and the accolades are definitely a huge, huge point he brings up. Which which you should. If it's in your repertoire, you should bring it up.
Boy, cause I got all the hits, boy, through to declaring that if I touch the studio, then we got
you shouldn't
one. On
sign the hit
Scorpions
boy,
Can't Take
Drake.
a Joke, all signs suggest that by now, Drake keeps his mind fixated on the anthems that can be supported by cold, hard sales, rather than creating a classic album with no skips. As a result, Drake and Kendrick's paths permanently diverged. By hopping on everything from TikTok dances to pandering to younger fans with features, Drake wound up doing everything that K-Dot had forewarned back in that 2014 interview with DJ Who Kid. Meanwhile, Kendrick kept himself focused on creating comprehensive bodies of work, delivering an even more emphatic statement on To Pimp a Butterfly. Choosing to evade the safe option of turning around another album which was sonically familiar, Dot took a risk and produced a musical journey through the music of Black America, from jazz to soul and beyond. After a project like Nothing Was the Same never received the adoration that he'd hoped for, Drake would never take this kind of
No, it received praise. It's just that Good Kid, Mad City is in a lot of people's top albums of all time.
risk again. However, Lamar has continued to look at the game differently, trusting his fans to put in the hours to comprehend what's happening.
It's not really a concept that I would want you to grasp in one day. I want it to live forever. To Pimp a Butterfly is one of the moments where 20 years from now, it'll probably be a little bit more prevalent in your life than it is today.
But that's not.
It's a lot of foresight. He makes a good point. A lot of the reason why I feel like his music is going to age really well is because the production is so timeless. These guitars, saxophones, and live drums, dude, we've had them forever, since the dawn of music. So I feel like those records definitely are going to age a lot better than some of the stuff, at least most of the stuff that's out right now. So yeah, he does make a good point. The album will live on forever. Not to say Drake's catalog won't. His back catalog, I feel like, is always going to be a huge, huge money maker. But like, yeah, man, like, I mean, it comes with the territory. Like, a lot of artists really don't put as much thought into making and crafting an album as they probably should if they want to make a classic. Like, what's the vision for this album? Who are we speaking to? Is there a story? Like, all this stuff. This is like, there's a reason why Kendrick won a Pulitzer Prize. The only rapper that's won a Pulitzer Prize. So, dude, the dude does move with intention, and he's pretty thoughtful when he's coming up with these concepts.
Where the story stops, because moving along to the next stage of their careers, Kendrick and Drake would actually find themselves involved in another battle, and this time it was in Drake's home territory, the Billboard charts. Widely regarded to be one of his best works, Drake's If You're Reading This Is Too Late was a mixtape that embraced his raw persona, including his flaws, and resulted in something that felt honest. Effectively, although he hadn't created a classic, he proved that he was on the right path.
I actually like a bulk of this album, even if this record
Fantano looking young as fuck, fam. Damn, bro. Damn. Yeah, and we all know Fantano usually gets a lot of hate because people say that he's usually hating on Drake and stuff like that. He's entitled to his opinion. If he is hating, then I guess he's hating. But like, dude, we gotta like let people be objective and have their own opinions. We can't have everyone like mimic our own views and opinions, because dude, without the dialogue, then it's like, dude, we're all sheep, you know? Like, you like what you like. It's okay, fam. We could all be fans of whoever we are fans of and admit when somebody misses the mark. But yeah, this project was definitely highly revered. It aged a lot better than people thought.
record doesn't go down as one of Drake's biggest projects historically. I think it is my favorite commercial project that he's dropped so far. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this.
Okay.
No way! Yeah. I know.
Once again, he pivoted back to making music for the charts with his More Life project. And at that point, K-Dot came to rain on his parade and even left him beaten.
I feel like with that, he even called it a playlist. The More Life was a playlist. I don't think you're crafting an album. You're just putting a bunch of records together. And honestly, it's all geared to the way streaming works. The more spins you get, the more sales you get. So there's a reason why these people are dropping these, like, dude, 30 song, 40 song, like, dude, like, odysseys, basically, freaking saga of music. Which is why somebody like Kendrick, it's going to be really hard to keep up with the streaming numbers. Because, dude, you just don't have the catalog to do it. Even if your songs were each getting like 1 billion streams. When somebody has an output that great, that prolific, there's no way you're going to catch up to the numbers. Which is why I tell a lot of people, like, this whole beef was never about who's the more successful rapper or who has more streams. It was a competition to see who was the best rapper, who was lyrically the best, who had the better, who had more skill. I feel like that was what this beef was to determine. Not that like Drake was gonna fall off and never sell another record, or that Kendrick would now be the #1 pop star in like the world. I don't think that was ever the case. I think it was just a lyrical battle. Like, I'm better than you, and I'm gonna show you why. And if you wanna debate that, I was gonna send you a rebuttal. And yeah, I feel like that was really the aim of all this.
In terms of album sales with the release of Damn. Despite billing the project as a playlist, it still very much counts as part of his discography and featured some big singles. So for a man that was fixated on numbers to take an L in...
And when I mean hit records, I should have probably like worded it better. I really meant like he has like radio smashes.
This arena must have stopped.
Humble was playing everywhere.
Of how petty he looked in the past, Drake played the role of the gracious loser, writing on IG that
Poetic Justice
it was
in
amazing to see our music moving forward, while also hyping the prospect of a potential collab track between himself, Cole, and Kendrick. But as expected at this point, K-Dot wasn't interested in rekindling any friendship. Instead, he kept throwing jabs at Drake's inadequacies. It gets tricky because you can have that one big record, but you can still have that integrity at the same time, he told Rolling Stone after the release of Damn. Not many can do that.
That sub is as clear a shot as you could have shot, fam.
Wink, wink. Still have their raps going crazy on an album and have a #1 record. Wink,
well,
wink.
You're not like holding back on your like artistry. I think that's what he meant.
Respond to the kudos directly on the track All the Stars from the Black Panther soundtrack. And while I didn't necessarily register at the time, the context that we have now makes it pretty obvious who Dot was aiming at with this verse. Despite Kendrick's best efforts, it seemed like Drake was never really ready to fully shut the door on a relationship between them. Because as a new era approached in 2019, Drizzy publicly expressed his admiration for Kendrick one last time.
I have a lot of respect for the other two guys that I'm up against, which is like Cole and Kendrick. I'm excited that the decade's about to turn and we're gonna see who can go that extra stretch. I think for all three of us, it is the time to see who can transcend the generations, much like Jay did. It's time to see, are we capable of?
I feel like all three of them have definitely like transcended that. Those three are definitely going to go down as the greats of their generation. I know Big Sean is making his case or trying to make his case, and I feel like he has every right to throw his hat into the ring. But like, yeah, as far as those three, even after this interview, they've all released music that has been greatly received by like the public, and that's a testament to how great their career has been. There's no denying that. As far as #1 rapper, we all saw how like the beef turned out, and yeah, it could all be reignited again, and the tables can turn. You'd never know in this day and age. Anything is plausible. If you make enough bad moves, anybody can be in that predicament. But right now, Drake is definitely in unfamiliar territory, which is why we're seeing him make some of the moves that he's been making.
Another 5-year run.
But now, that respect is...
And now Elliot Wilson is basically not hating on Drake, but dude, he's not trying to be PC on that friendship either. He's definitely speaking his mind on that topic as well.
Likely eroded completely. Left without the classic he craved but a whole host of plaques, Drake has accomplished many, many things in the rap game. But if Drizzy ever hoped to obtain acceptance, then Kendrick is just at that process a long, long way back. So what do you think? Did Kendrick force Drake into giving up on creating a classic album, or are we reaching here? Also, side note, consider this. Drake was the one who reached out to Kendrick.
Well, there's people, like I said, that say Take Care is his classic, or that Nothing Was the Same was his classic. In all fairness, those could be his classics, but now you're like comparing classics. And I know music is subjective, but there is factors that you can use to rank these projects. You can go into like the production, you can go into like just the lyrical like ability, you know, the writing on this project, all that and more you can use to like, you know, make your own ranking. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be subjective. It's just that, all right, this is the general consensus, but there's no denying like the cultural reactions to certain things.
To go on tour with him, gifted him problems, and also reached out to collaborate with Cole on first-person shooter. So maybe Kendrick is the bad guy in all of this.
Well, I just think he's like supremely competitive. I think whoever was in the top like position as a rapper was definitely gonna like, yo, get bars, you know, you're gonna get a diss. Now, whether it was gonna become this personal, maybe not. But the way Kendrick's been moving, anyone can get it, fam. Like, so it's like, pause. So it's like, I do feel like this was a long time brewing. Obviously, since 2011, there's been rumblings, and I want to say it's probably even clearer than that. They're only subliminal because names weren't stated, but we all knew who they were talking about. Drake definitely looks like he took it personally. He does seem hurt about it, which is crazy. He probably really did see this guy as like a friend, which was his mistake. You know, it's fam. You got to remember you're #1, and when you're #1, people are looking to take you out. Not everyone's going to be your friend. but Kendrick really definitely like orchestrated like a master class in how to handle a beef and how to dismantle somebody. Like I said earlier, things can change. You know, we never know if the second round things don't go in his favor. Who knows? Who knows? But as of right now, to me, Kendrick is still the #1 rapper, at least as far as like skill wise and his artistry. Not to put down Drake, because dude, his success is undeniable. Nobody can ever take that away from him. He's going to remain successful. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But yeah, let me know. Do you guys think Drake doesn't have a classic? And if so, let me know what it is. And also in the comments, put in your favorite Kendrick album. Thank you guys so much for watching, guys. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button, guys. It's such a channel wonders. You guys are freaking amazing. The channel's doing great, and all the dialogues are freaking dope. Hope you guys loved the video, and I hope to see you guys soon.